What's up, guys? Welcome back. Welcome back. Dr. Jaws here, and tonight we are meeting not this species. I see that we have the whale shark on the screen. We have the peppered catshark, Galeus piperatus, to review. But we are going to be talking about its habitat, which includes or is exclusively related to the Sea of Cortez. Hey, Howard, welcome back. Good evening to you too. Hope you had a good weekend. Species tonight is peppered catshark, and we're going to talk about the Sea of Cortez, also known as the Gulf of California, and the deepwater habitat in which it lives, and then also kind of highlight some of the Gulf of California's aspects, or like ecological aspects, which include a biodiversity hotspot for sharks. So, including the whale shark, hammerhead sharks, which do require a lot of conservation attention, and a lot of other cool species. So I'm really excited to go into that tonight. But hope you had a good weekend. I had a pretty chill weekend. I went to a really nice Irish restaurant, getting closer to St. Paddy's Day, so I'm excited to kind of do more Irishy things. But went to a really good Irish restaurant in nearby Maryland, but hope you had a good weekend. And I think we'll start off just kind of talking about the Sea of Cortez. So we got some really cool footage showcasing different shark species. So this looks to be a scalloped hammerhead, which is critically endangered. There is a silky shark. So it's actually really cool that there's a lot of ecotourism opportunities in this area. And you can actually, it's kind of amazing to see divers with some of these sharks. And that you can actually be this close to them underwater. So I've heard this is a really great area for a lot of oh, nice, quiet weekend, awesome. Heard it's it's a great area for a lot of unique shark ecotourism opportunities, including whale shark diving. So whale sharks are the big species for this region, but when you get deeper and deeper into the water column, that's when you'll meet some deep water species such as the peppered catshark. So I think before we continue, let's take a look at the peppered catshark's habitat first. So, we'll kind of take a look at the broad species profile. We'll explore the Sea of Cortez sharks, and then we'll also explore a different part of its range, which is in Peru. Apparently there's some observations of the species in Peru, which is a little odd because the IUCN Red List reports that this shark is only found in the Gulf of California. But what's kind of fun is when I was investigating this, this led to... what's going on here? This led to... Hold on. It's really weird. I don't know why Facebook is popping up. Let me go back to peppered catshark. I might have misclicked that, but Galeus piperatus. This led to me uncovering a really cool article on Peruvian shark culture, Peruvian shark hunters. So really excited to check that out and take a look at that. So yeah. But so here we go. So Galeus piperatus, the peppered catshark. The Greek is from Galeus or Galeos, a small shark or dogfish, according to Aristotle and others. And then piperatus, Latin for peppered, referring to black dots all over its body. It's a deep water species that you can see, so 275 to 1326 meters. So that's twilight zone down into the midnight zone. So deep water species. So far, the distribution is Eastern Central Pacific, Northern Gulf of California, but there has been a research account of the species being found in Peru, so we'll take a close look at that. Biology, possibly oviparous like other cat sharks, so meaning egg-laying. It likely is a shark that lays eggs, since the other cat sharks like scalorhinids do that as well. So I believe Galeus is a scalorhinid. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's Pentanchidae, so it's a deep water cat shark. But as always, FishBase doesn't have a lot of information, so let's check out sharkreferences.com. So the peppered catshark, this is its outline. The original description from 1966 from an FAO guide. So you can see that it has pretty large pectoral fins and a large lower caudal fin. Oh, Howard, that's a really good point. Deepwater species may be more migratory than we realize. That's a really good point. And actually, that's actually really true because the deepwater habitat is a lot more stable than shallow water habitats. Because like when you sat in shallow water, you have all that variation in like the temperature and the sunlight. So, you have like seasonal variations of abundance. But in deepwater habitats, it's a very constant temperature. You do have variation of like marine snow or debris falling from the surface down into the deep water zone. So you do have some seasonal variation in that way, but overall, to your point, and I agree, that environment is very stable, and with that stability, you can have global species, and we do see that with other deep water species, like the 6-gill sharks and 7-gill sharks are global, and like the sleeper sharks, a lot of them have huge ranges across like the northern and southern Atlantic Ocean, northern southern Pacific Ocean. So that's a really good point, and that might be what's happening with this cat shark too. So I'm excited to learn more about this Peruvian account. But let's see, we've got common names include gato pimienta, pejigato pimienta, chien poivre. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Peppered catshark and just peppered catshark. So. Not much known about the species. So 29 centimeters, 30 centimeters in length. So that's a really tiny shark in comparison to inches. I'm just going to centimeters to inches. We'll do... It's about 12 inches, so about a foot long. So shark-wise, very, very small species. So... let's see if we can get any kind of description of it. We do have some figures. There we go. Okay, so let's actually check out this first description. So, Galeus piperatus, a new shark of the family Scalorhinidae from the Gulf of California. So 3 specimens trawled from a depth of approximately 275 meters midway between Tiburon and Angel de la Guardia Islands in the Gulf of California. The only known specimens of the genus Galeus from the eastern Pacific. Interesting. Because we do have, is it Galeus melastomus? We do have Galeus cat sharks in the Atlantic, but that's interesting. I didn't think about that. This is the only Galeus in the Pacific, so that's actually really exciting. Constitute the type series of a new species, which is described and illustrated. So here we go. We'll just kind of skim through this. Okay. So the name for the species, piperatus, refers to the peppered appearance of the ventral and lateral surfaces. I wonder if we could do like a quick search, because I couldn't find a lot of illustrations in life, so. I don't think this is a peppered catshark, because this is Galeus, but this is a different kind of Galeus. Yeah, so these are definitely cousins of the species. There are other kinds of saw-tailed cat sharks, but these are not the peppered catshark, because peppered catshark has more of an even pattern. These species, oh, that's a little fish, but these species have these like kind of more splotchy appearance. So let's see here, maybe an A case. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of description or visual descriptions on it, so we'll just read. We'll read the original description, but the holotype. So the type species, like the species that anchors the name, Galeus piperatus, or sorry, the individual specimen that is like the definition of the name Galeus piperatus, is in Los Angeles, Los Angeles County Museum of Natural History. There's also paratypes in the same museum. It's kind of interesting. And then all of these came from research vessel Alaska. So research vessel Alaska is what collected these individuals. Let's see. We'll turn this around for a better view. So here is the original illustration of the holotype. Oops, sorry, it's a little bit of a delay here. Okay, there we go, that took forever. And kind of same thing, very large pectoral fins. The gill slits are really interesting. I find it interesting how small these are, and relatively really close to the pectoral fin insertion. Very long eyes, very actually long snout too. Two very small dorsal fins, both equal in size. A very large, like the other swallowtail cat sharks, very large anal fin. Squared off pelvic fins. And lower caudal fin again is pretty large compared to the upper caudal fin, which ends in like a small square. Compared to other kinds of cat sharks, it has kind of a big mouth. So I'm kind of curious about the diet. This is probably, since it's a deep water species, and it's a cat shark, it probably is a benthic species, so it probably eats probably crustaceans or maybe worms, mollusks that are kind of hovering closest seabed, as well as other fishes. So, let's see. This is the IUCN redless account for the peppered catshark. It's least concern, which is really cool. So this species is actually doing pretty well. It's nice to see that in regards to shark conservation, where a lot of shark species are not doing so well in the world. It's nice to see a species that is actually doing okay. So the peppered catshark is a small shark with a restricted range in the eastern Pacific, who is known only from the Gulf of California and Mexico. Inhabits the continental slope at depths of 275 to 1326 meters, so twilight zone to midnight zone. This catshark is rarely in industrial demersal control fisheries, but these fisheries interact only with the very upper portion species depth range. So hake are cool. They're like lots of pod. They're like a long, elongated body, big mouths. I think I mentioned before, we used to take care of hake in the Seacoast Science Center in New Hampshire. So they're really fun fish, actually. These fisheries interact only with the very upper portion of the species depth range. As such, it has a substantial refuge at depths outside of the current fishing activities, and the population is suspected to be stable. Therefore, the peppered catshark is assessed as least concern. So, it's kind of like a not well-known species, but it's nice to know that overall it seems to be doing okay. So, okay, so this is really funny, by the way. Hey, Minjus, what's up? Missed the beginning, but they're not super tiny. I imagine their larger mouths may be useful for catching larger fish crustaceans. That feels too simple, lol. No worries. So what's funny, by the way, guys, I I hope you had a good weekend, Minjus. It's good to see you. So I recently updated my video editing software, or my live streaming software. This is Ecamm. And, oh, awesome, thank you. Thank you for letting me know, both of you, that the audio is okay. And I noticed that I was getting dislikes on this stream. And I was like, that's really weird. Like, why am I getting dislikes? And then I'm checking on, I'm happy to have my phone, like, do the stream. Like I can double check if I feel like there's something wrong with it, like as far as like a technical issue. And I have likes. So it's like I have 2 dislikes, but there are 2 likes. And I'm like, oh, it's my update has turned the dislikes button into the likes button. So the dislikes are good in this scenario. This is really funny, actually. So I was like, man, and what's kind of funny too is I was pulling up the the fish-based description of the species, and I must have misclicked it. I must have accidentally clicked on the Facebook link, like my previous tab, which was Facebook. So for a hot second I was like, man, did my stream get like hacked? Are people like trolling or something? And it's like, no, it's okay. My update is stupid. So what's really funny is I guess this is the more dislikes I have on this video, the better it is, apparently. So I have to get used to that for this new display, and I really hope they update that, because that was disconcerting for a second. But, oh my gosh. Anyway, we'll continue. So we don't have a lot on this catshark species, other than it's a deep water catshark. And that was a really good point, Minjus, that that it probably is useful. The larger mouth is probably useful for catching larger fish and crustaceans. Howard, I don't know if you were able to see this, but Howard made a really good point that this species may have a larger distribution than expected because it is a deep water species. So it may be covering a larger range than other kinds of sharks. So, than shallow water sharks, because the official account is that the species lives in the Gulf of California, also known as the Sea of Cortez. But the larger account is, or there is rumors of the species actually occurring in Peru. So there are not rumors, like scientific accounts of the species occurring in Peru. And that sent me down a rabbit hole of Peruvian shark culture, which is pretty in depth, like the Peruvian shark hunters. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit, because it's like this ancient culture, which I've never heard of before. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, I promise. Let me find that article that was talking about the species occurring in Peru. Let's see, we have sharks of Mexico. Is this an updated... Okay, so this is where I'm getting this from. This is an updated checklist of chondrichthyes from the Southeast Pacific off Peru. This is by Rodolfo Cornejo, Jimena Velez Zuazo, Adriana Gonzalez Pastana, Carlos Corey-J, and Gonzalo Musientes. And these seem like pretty credible institutes, so I don't doubt this list, but it is interesting seeing this cat shark right here. So there it is, the Peppered Catshark, recorded from Peru. And apparently it was recorded in a survey from 2001. So the species was described in 1966, but the survey captured in 2001. So it might be exactly what Howard said, that it's a species that actually might have a larger distribution than what we originally thought. So, but yeah. I think what we might do, because I am actually really curious about this Peruvian shark culture, let's take a look at the checklist of sharks of Peru. We'll take a look at Peruvian shark culture. I think leading in with that might be a lot of fun. And then we'll go over back to the Gulf of California and kind of talk about like why this area is important for shark conservation and shark ecotourism and species that might not be doing so well in the Gulf of California, since this cat shark lives in the Gulf of California as well. Excuse me. Okay. So the abstract for this was the first updated and comprehensive checklist of chondrichthyes from the Southeastern Pacific off Peru, based on a revision of scientific literature, is presented. A group of chondrichthyes in the Peruvian coast is composed of 115 species. That's actually pretty rich. That includes 66 species of sharks, 43 species of batoids, and 6 species of chimeras. That's relatively comparable to... and actually, that's richer than my part of the ocean, like the Virginia Marine ecoregion. We have about 54 species of sharks, so it's actually a pretty unique or a pretty rich area. We present 9 new records and 1 recent discovery obtained from secondary sources. For some species, we also compiled the extensions and the geographic distributions. So we'll kind of take a look at the list. We've got the prickly shark. I'm glad they have the English names here. Birdbeak dogfish, hook-toothed dogfish, comb-toothed dogfish. I'm going to shout out things that the Pacific sleeper, so in the vein of deep water species with large ranges across the northern and southern Pacific Oceans. Somnius pacificus, the Pacific sleeper, is a great example. Smallmouth velvet dogfish. The cookie cutter shark, our good friend, the cookie cutter shark. The pygmy shark. This one might be, fun fact, this might be a good one to do soon, because this is allegedly the smallest shark in the world. We've done the whale shark before, last year, so it might be kind of cool to do the smallest, which is the largest shark in the world. It might be kind of cool to do the smallest shark, Euprotomicris bispinatus, the pygmy shark. So we've got the pocket shark, which used to be the only shark that creeped me out, and now I'm okay with it. But the pocket shark is in this area. The South Pacific angel shark and the Pacific angel shark. We got the 6-gill, sharp-nosed 7-gill. Actually, both 6 gills, interesting. Or sorry, both 7 gills. The sharp-nosed 7-gill and the broad-nosed 7-gill. Which this one, kind of being slightly hazardous species. This one looks cute, but I didn't realize how many times they do get close to divers. I was, in preparation of the stream, I did watch some videos that, some of them were kind of clickbaity, but there was an interesting clip of a 7-gill shark getting too close to a diver. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. There's a lot of weird clips on YouTube where there's people just enjoying the day at the beach, but people say shark attack in the title, and it's just clickbait. So, and this was kind of one of those videos. The 7-gill shark didn't hurt the diver, but was getting a little bit too close. So we got the horn shark, Heterodontus francisci, the Mexican horn shark, and the Galapagos bullhead shark, which is really pretty. Let me pull that up. Heterodontus cucoyi. It's a very pretty shark. So there we go. Galapagos bullhead shark. So it's kind of like a horn shark. I mean, well, it is an extremely close cousin of a horn shark, but it has these really beautiful spots. I really wish Google did a better job at when you click on it, like how they expand it. They used to give you the full size image, but now it's got this weird bar on the right, and I don't like that. So, but that's just me whinging. So, but anyway, either way, this is a really beautiful shark. So. Who else is here? We got the nurse shark, which I'm kind of surprised by. Interesting. And actually, that's really interesting that nurse sharks can be found in Peru. Because what's kind of cool about that, let me see if I can find their range to illustrate this. We've definitely talked about this before, but this kind of goes back to the Isthmus of Panama, and how that region used to be underwater, and the fauna, like the all the wildlife on either side. Okay, this is so strange. Alright, so Aedes amaryllis is not showing that nurse sharks live in Peru, but this checklist is saying they do, which is odd. And apparently this nurse shark was discovered in 2001 as well. Let me double check. I was about to say, if there are nurse sharks in Peru, that's actually really cool, because the Isthmus of Panama used to be underwater, and a lot of species that were in the Caribbean were also in this part of the ocean, in the Central Eastern Pacific. So they're all actually kind of similar. They share a common ancestor, and then when Panama formed, which is relatively recently, it split off these two oceans, which is kind of an amazing, massive geologic event. But the root of both groups of animals and plants are actually, it's actually shared across the continent, so, which is really cool. So I would assume nurse sharks might have related to that, or maybe nurse sharks in the Atlantic and nurse sharks in the Central Eastern Pacific in Peru probably came from the same ancestor, but Aedes amaryllis is not showing it here. So let me see if there's another. Let's see. Pacific nurse shark, Ginglumostoma unami. What is this? Is this it? I have to refresh the map, but this might be it. Oh, it is it. Okay, I see. I have to zoom in. Oh, that is really cool. Check this out, guys. So, okay. So this is exactly it. So this checklist, let me see when this checklist was written. 2015. Okay, so this checklist came from 2015. But what's really cool is that this species of nurse shark, the Pacific nurse shark, which is new, Ginglumostoma unami, it's different from the Atlantic nurse shark, Ginglumostoma serratum, but they apparently looked functionally similar. They looked so close. They appeared so similarly that they thought it was the same species, but it's not. And it's exactly what we were talking about, which is this used to be covered in ocean, so it used to be just this one nurse shark complex. But then when Panama formed, you have the Atlantic nurse shark split off in the Caribbean and Atlantic, and then you have this Pacific nurse shark split off. in the Central Eastern Pacific. So that's actually really cool. That's actually really cool to see. Like that's exactly like biogeography in action, like where you see how the formation of continents or events where sea levels rise and fall, they can have such a huge impact on species and the creation of species or like the evolution of species. It's super super cool. So that's awesome. This must be really new. I think. I don't remember the discovery of a new nurse shark actually, so that's actually extremely cool. Um, Howard, the fossil shark teeth of Peru have spectacular color due to mineralization, or mineral. Bah, I can't speak. Mineralization. Let's check that out. Peruvian shark fossils. I think we've seen this incredible skeleton before. This is a white shark. And look at that. These are actually really pretty. Okay, so yeah, these are gorgeous. And they are such a unique color. I'm not used to these teeth being this like creamy bluish white. It's actually really pretty. Um, you know, I'm used to like, these really pretty like dark blue, kind of like this color for shark teeth. But yeah, these are actually really gorgeous. That's awesome. So. All right. So speaking of Peru, let's dive in because I know we're all excited to see this. So let's dive into something I've never heard of this before. We've talked about We always talk about Polynesian shark culture. We talk about North Pacific or Northwest Pacific shark culture. We even talked about North American shark culture, like in the North Atlantic. But I don't think we've ever talked about South American or Peruvian shark culture. And I don't know much about it, so I'm really excited to learn this. So here we go. It's also fun to see a new thing. So this is Archaeology Magazine. So, and actually, correct me if I'm wrong, I see this like little, you can barely see it on the screen window, but I see this like little owl. And I think that's meant to represent Minerva or, oh gosh, who's the goddess of Athena? Minerva or Athena, which is the goddess of wisdom. I think the owl and Athena are the same, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone's a fan of Greek mythology. But remembering the shark hunters, unique burials show how ancient Peruvians celebrated dangerous deep-sea expeditions. So let's check this out. Okay, so this is really cool. So these are shark burial sites of modern shark species. So even though, this is like an ancient human culture, this relates to modern sharks. So, Howard, love this comment. I'm going to star this. Isolation fueling evolution. Absolutely. Also, comment on Peruvian fossil shark teeth. They could be violet, pink, or orange. It's really cool. So this is a really exciting it's an exciting collection. It's kind of amazing. I've never heard of a shark burial site. So it's an amazing collection of a great white shark's like full tooth set, and you can kind of see how the cartilage has dissolved. You can still see the vertebral column. If I zoom down, can I zoom down to see that? Let's see. There we go. You can still see the vertebral column right here. So these are also cartilaginous vertebrae. But more apparently, you can see the white shark's teeth, which these actually look pretty. These almost look like a mako shark. So I wonder if this is. They look very long and narrow. So I mean, they are triangular like a white shark, but the lowers are just so sharp. This actually this kind of screams mako shark a little bit to me. But anyway. Okay, so I won't read the whole thing, we'll just kind of scan this while drinking tea. Actually, okay, that's a cool thing, sorry. Exploring the beliefs of complex cultures that flourished before the advent of writing challenges archaeologists to imagine how the buildings and artifacts those people left behind express long-vanished belief systems. Okay. On the Moche River, 6 miles inland from the Air Coast northern coast of Peru, loom structures that were central to a people who left behind abundant evidence of their worldview. These buildings, 15-story adobe brick pyramids of the sun and the moon, are among the largest built by the Moche, who traveled in northern Peru from about 200 to 800. So that's actually incredible. Moche artisans produced a rich array of murals, pottery, and other artifacts depicting humans engaged in ceremonies interacting with mythic creatures. Thanks to these vivid depictions and the lavish burials of priests and nobles, archaeologists can reconstruct how the Moche may have conducted rituals at major sites such as the pyramids of the sun and the moon. But what are the people who lived in similar settlements, not far from the major Moche centers? What religious traditions do they follow and beliefs do they rely on to make sense of the world around them? So this is actually really cool. So here's a map of the archaeological sites. Menocucho, Caballo Muerto, Moche Pyramids, Pampa La Cruz, and Gramalote. So the red dots are archaeological sites, and then the blue is modern-day Trujillo in Peru. It's actually really cool to see the sites along the river and on the coast. Very interesting. In an effort to answer these questions, University of Florida archaeologist Gabriel Prieto had spent years excavating ancient fishing villages north of where the Moche River flows into the into the Pacific Ocean. Sorry. Okay. He and his team excavated a stone and mud brick platform on a bluff overlooking the Pacific coast at a site known as Pampa La Cruz. Such platforms, which served as temples, were often built by ancient Peruvians, including the Moche, to be used by priests and other important members of the community as stages on which to perform religious rites. Interesting. Prieto soon discovered that this particular platform, rising a modest 6 feet high, was decorated with a typical Moche painting that depicts 3 warriors leading 2 naked captives. It also concealed evidence of a unique ritual event. Beneath the platform, Prieto unearthed the burials of more than a dozen deep-sea creatures, including 9 sharks. The skeletons of 2 sunfish and 2 yellowfin tuna, uncommon species on the Peruvian coast, were also identified, as well as 2 kogia whales, which are some of the rarest toothed whales in the world. Oh my gosh. All the animals seem to have been purposely buried by the people of Pampa La Cruz, who constructed the platform sometimes between 500 and 750. We were very surprised, says Prieto. Perhaps there were offerings of sea animals elsewhere in South America, but we haven't found them yet. So that's really amazing, actually. The only comparable discovery in the New World was made more than 2,000 miles north of Mexico City, whereas the Mexicas or Aztecs buried marine species as well as land animals in and around the ritual site of Templo Mayor. The Aztecs were related to the Moche, but both examples reflect the widely shared appreciation by indigenous Americans of animals as important, beautiful, powerful creatures. He noted that different animals are sometimes believed to be masters of different planes of reality, including the underworld, which is often imagined as an aquatic realm. That's really cool. I want to put a pin in that in a second. The Pampa La Cruz case is interesting because the animals are oceanic, so it seems that the temple had a special role as an intercessor or expression of the forces of the deep. Ooh, okay, so that's really powerful and amazing and a little freaky. So I love that we're talking about these ritualistic beliefs of sharks of the underworld, of like the ocean being the underworld. And it's kind of amazing to think about how that does relate to humans, where the ocean and the deep ocean in particular, but I mean the entire ocean, it is a place where we cannot survive. We cannot live here. We can't breathe water. We drown. We can't go deep. We have to use all this advanced technology to safely explore that world. And it's kind of amazing to think about from a human perspective how, it is a foreboding place. It is a place of not a place of death, because I think that's not the right way to say it. It's kind of more like, I think foreboding, or a place where humans cannot survive. So It's kind of amazing to have a belief system in which the ocean itself is another plane. That's really cool. And what's kind of eerie about that is even today, you know, we call these places in the deep the abyss or the Hadal zone. Hadal from Hades, so god of the underworld, like Greek god of the underworld. And the abyss, you know, sometimes used as I think the abyss is also Greek. It can also be biblical, where it's referring to the underworld or hell or just the nether. You know, it's the same kind of thing, right? Culturally, so it's really amazing that to see a different culture that is not European, you know, that has kind of like a similar thing where it's like the ocean is, you know, a place of. I really like this idea of like, you know, we've borrowed European terms to describe the modern day deep sea, like the Hadal zone and the abyss, and it's kind of cool to see a culture in a completely different part of the world that has these rituals associated with marine creatures, potentially associating them with the other plane of the underworld that is the ocean. It's really cool. Literally, like, under the sea, under the world. It's just, it's so, I love the overlap. It's just really, really fascinating. So, another realm, yeah. So, I'm going to catch up on the comments. Associated dentition. Paleontologists need to study this. Yes, absolutely. Yes, actually, that's a great point, Howard. That original shark tooth set, it would reveal the decomposition of shark remains to compare fossil remains. This is a really good point. Collectors need to be aware of associated dentitions and keep an eye out for these important specimens. Absolutely. So, that's so cool. Here's another skeleton, a complete shark skeleton. It's actually amazing to see a modern shark, if you will, and to see, you know, the vertebral column and the jaws here. A couple streams ago, we talked about how basking sharks, when they washed up on shore and decayed, they gave rise to the myths of sea serpents. And you can kind of see that here, too. This is a buried mackerel shark, potentially a white shark. I'm assuming this is a white shark, kind of based on the tooth type. But you can see where it's like, you know, to an untrained eye or to, like, you know, someone who doesn't know what they're looking at, you know, hundreds of years ago, you have this giant mouth and then just this very long vertebral column because everything else, you know, has decayed so quickly because it's just muscle and cartilage, you know. So you can, again, sharks are kind of a origin point for maybe not all, but at least some sea serpent myths, just because of how they decay. So it's actually really cool. Let's see. Make sure I zoomed out. Okay, there we go. So we can all read. The burials. Prieto believes that the burials beneath the platform are also an expression of a ceremonial tradition that flourished in the small fishing settlements in the northern Peruvian coast for thousands of years. Oh, the extremely cold waters of the Humboldt Current creates conditions for rich, diverse fishery that even today is one of the world's most bountiful. So this might be, I think this is an upwelling zone. So the Humboldt Current, if I remember correctly, you know, the continental shelf drops off dramatically in the Pacific, and so you have deep water currents rushing up to the surface, and they bring with them a lot of nutrients, which help fuel an explosion of life as the seasons change, and that can cascade into a huge predation event, creating like a very rich what's the word? Not biodiverse, but like a very rich, productive ecosystem. So interesting. Okay, evidence unearthed by Prieto at Pampa La Cruz and elsewhere shows that rituals based on deep-sea fishing were vital to the people who plied the waters off the stretch of coastline. They were so crucial, Prieto thinks, that they were eventually incorporated in the belief system of the greater Moche world and help explain how its religion and political system spread throughout northern Peru. So before I continue, I want to reemphasize there in North American shark culture, there was a belief that megalodon teeth would protect you as you go out to fish in the deep ocean. So there was a belief that people who wore necklaces with megalodon teeth or white shark teeth would be protected, that they somehow inherit the power of the shark and are able to go out into the ocean and fish. So I want to say that just in case. I'm so curious if this culture did something similar. I don't want to spoil it for myself, but I'm just going to put a pin in that and just see if that... that would be so cool if two completely different human cultures had something similar like that. So let's see. Let's see. Oh, interesting. A 4-inch long model of a reed boat was among the burial offerings discovered in the village of Gramalote, a mile and a half from Pamplona Cruz. Let's see. I'm just going to kind of skim through this. Prieto began digging at Gramalote, a prehistoric fishing village with an ancient population of some 300 people that dates between 1500 and 1200 BC. This is so cool. Gramalote is just a mile and a half south of Pamplona Cruz and was occupied at the same time as Menocucho and Caballo Muerto, two larger sites in the nearby Moque River Valley, where hundreds of people lived amid monumental pyramids decorated with murals and adorned with columns. Ceremony events that drew people from the entire Moque Valley were held at these sites. Previously, archaeologists had proposed that Gramalote was a peripheral community where people focused on providing food, mainly shellfish, to the inhabitants of Menocucho and Caballo Muerto. Prieto's excavation soon showed there was much more to life in Gramalote than gathering shellfish. He and his team discovered that the villagers practiced a range of crafts, including basketry and bone carving, and processed large amounts of red pigment. Prieto also collected more than 21,000 fish and 12,000 sea mammal bones, suggesting that deep-sea fishing was just as important as collecting shellfish. Most surprisingly, 16,000 of the fish bones Prieto unearthed were shark vertebrae. Then, as now, sharks are not easy to prey for humans, but hunting these predators appeared to be one of the main occupations of the people of Gramalote and one of their major sources of meat. These dangerous animals were also symbolically important. Some of the shark vertebrae have been polished and drilled as if for use in necklaces, and whole sharks have been placed as offerings under some of the Gramalote dwellings. In a number of burials, Prieto discovered caches of shark teeth, which may have accompanied particularly skilled shark hunters to the afterlife. In one such burial, Prieto also found a reed model of a boat, not substantially different from the ones used by fishermen of Huanchaco today. Wow. So this is really cool. Also, to compare, so it's really cool to see that there are necklaces being made with at least shark vertebrae, and these teeth are definitely white shark teeth. They're highly serrated, characteristically huge serrations, so you can tell that it's a great white shark based on just the size of those serrations. So, and the triangular tooth type. So the combination of the two gives it away that it's a great white. What's really cool is when I talk about the burial, we're talking about modern shark teeth, so this may not apply, but in North American cultures, sometimes people were buried with fossil shark teeth, which signify the transition from life to death. So, because the fossil teeth are black, the modern teeth are white, at least in North America, and so ancient cultures perceived how the shark teeth change color over time and concluded that this is the change from life to death, and therefore if you have this, or if you're buried with this, we will ease your passage into the afterlife, and you will take this with you and successfully complete the transition from life to death, crossing into the world of the dead. So it's really cool. I love shark culture. It's such a really, it's a surprisingly not really talked about field. Honestly, I'm actually kind of surprised that shark culture is not as explored as it maybe really should be. You know, so oh, this is wild. Let's see. Yeah, I love the comments. Oh man, it reminds me. This is so cool. I didn't know this, Minjas. It reminds me of ancient people seeing mammoth skulls and immediately going, "Oh my god, Cyclops." That's so interesting. That is so interesting. I didn't even think about that, but you're right because it's like the way it's shaped. Oh my gosh, it looks so much like the association dentition found in Maryland from the Miocene. Howard's excellent point. That's so cool. Like how you can compare the decay and the carbon dating of the modern white shark tooth or jaw set. If you compared it to a Miocene jaw set, just like you could extrapolate a lot of data from that. It's so cool. Howard, no question, our ancestors would have puzzled over fossil remains. That is so cool. Oh, thank you. You're right. The shark culture should be more celebrated. It really should, and it's kind of fun. It's well, not kind of fun, really fun. Like just, hey, Bibia, what's up? Welcome back, Bibia666. We're talking about Peruvian shark culture. But I was just gonna say, like, it's really cool that it is, as far as like archaeological, not mysteries, but like archaeological, like subjects that have a lot of like, or need a lot of attention, where it's kind of like it's not in the public zeitgeist as much. You know, I just find it really fascinating, really cool. And as sharks are global, there has to be like a global accounting of sharks in different cultures. We've talked about before, like there are Greek mural and Roman murals of sharks. You know, even in North America, when the English visited, or not visited, I should say colonized. Sorry, the English colonized the East Coast, starting with North Carolina and Virginia. Some of the original drawings by, I think it's Thomas White, I want to say. Let me see if I can find that actually. Let's do Roanoke Colony. This might blow your mind if I can find this drawing. Yeah, the infamous Lost Colony Roanoke, which is really creepy. There are sharks in the original drawing by I think it is Thomas White, but or see if this is it. It's not this one, but this is the same. This might be the same artist. It is a line engraving. Hold on. You know what? Let's do. I know there's a way to find this. Okay, Powhatan. So I live in what is now known as Virginia, and the original peoples here, they're actually dependent. There are three major groups that lived in what is today Virginia. But Powhatan was the group. The Powhatan people were an Algonquin-speaking group on the East Coast. I'm really trying to find this. I swear. Oh, maybe this is it. John White. This is it. This is the artist. I got confused. It's not Thomas White. His name is John White. Okay, this is it. I know this. Okay, so this is actually really amazing art from in depicting like some of the original peoples. So the original Algonquin peoples, including the Powhatan. There are sharks in one of these pieces. These are famous and beautiful illustrations that are so important for human history. This is it. This is what I wanted. Okay. Okay. There we go. All right. There's a shark. So this is original description by original description of fishing by the Powhatan people. There's a couple sharks in here. Some of them are a little faded, but here is one. So can you guess what species this is? So think about a shallow water shark on the North American East Coast in the summer. So kind of moving up from Florida. No worries, Vivia. A bit busy, so I can't chat much, but I got the party playing as background music. Thanks for the uploads. Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining. I really, really, really love having you here. So no worries. Thank you so much for the support. Really, really appreciate it. Yes, Howard, you got it. You got it. 100%. It is a bonnet head shark. It's so cool because it's that distinct head shape. There's no other fish, there's no other shallow water fish that would have a head shape like that, where you depict that unique, like, like kind of like shovel, with a thin neck, and then, you can see even the pectoral fins here. You can actually faintly see the dorsal fin here and how it's like really sharp and angular. So it's a bonnet head shark. You're absolutely right. So this has been confirmed by shark scientists as well. So some of my favorite shark books, they actually do refer to this illustration by John White, and they point out the sharks in it. So it's really cool. Here's another bonnet-head shark up here. So confirmed that the original peoples of Eastern North America, they definitely interacted with sharks, and sharks were a part of their life. So here's another bonnet-head shark. In this drawing, and you can actually see the details. He did a great job. There's the bonnet-shaped head, the pectoral fins, the dorsal fin. They're all, look how sharp and angular they, or like sickle shaped they look. You have the upper and lower caudal fin, the pelvic fins. He did a great job. So, and it's kind of cool. You could see other animals here too. You could see American eels. So that's an American eel. There's no other animal that looks like it. You have diamondback terrapins. No other animal, no other sea turtle. There's no other turtle that has these claws, but also lives in this kind of water. So it's kind of amazing. Even though these are rough illustrations as far as the marine life goes, you can actually figure out who's who in the marine ecosystem here. So it's really cool. Sorry, that was a little bit of a, and thank you for indulging me, because I do think this stuff is extremely fascinating. There's a little bit of a tangent. The original subject was every culture must have interacted with sharks in its history, because sharks are global. Like, sharks are everywhere around the world. So every culture must have some kind of association with them. Every ancient culture, in some way or another, must have an association with them. So it's really cool to see that, here's a snapshot of like Algonquin, Powhatan life with sharks in the east coast of North America. We've talked about Greek and Roman murals with sharks. We've talked about Polynesian shark culture and North Pacific shark culture. We'll go back to Peruvian shark culture, but it's just really cool. So, let's see. Okay. I'm just catching up on the comments. So, thank you. Good tangent though. I appreciate it. Thank you, Minjas. Thank you, Howard. I really, really appreciate that. So. The people of Gramalote also seemed perfectly capable of worshipping on their own without having to make the journey to Huaynacucho or Cabello Muerto. Let's see. Prieto unearthed the remains of a small temple complex in Gramalote that bore no resemblance to the grander ritual compounds in the nearby valley. The villagers probably did not supply their inland neighbors with food, but they also lived in a self-sufficient community with its own traditions. Oh, interesting. Prieto notes that when the Spaniards reached the area in the 16th century, they found that people in fishing communities spoke a different language from those just living just a few miles inland. Perhaps such independence had its roots in an ancient sense of community, centered in part around feats of deep-sea fishing. Interesting. So, this is an archaeological burial, like a grave, but it says that it was found with metal fish hooks. And, I do want to see if there are, I do see a fish hook right here. I want to see if there's any sign of shark anywhere here, as far as like a necklace or something like that. So, like the I don't see anything, but either that would be like shark teeth or the vertebral column. So like the round vertebrae. So. Let's see. Gramalote was abandoned around 1200 BC, after which archaeologists have an almost 1,000-year gap in their knowledge of the area. Prieto thinks the settlement was moved to a site where Huanchaco's colonial-era church now stands, making the excavation impossible. By 400 BC, however, a community of some 1,000 people is thought to have been living at Pampa La Cruz. Preto's excavations there have revealed that these people did not eat nearly as much shark meat as their ancestors in Guarmolote had, but that fishing for sharks still seemed to be symbolically important. Preto found that the barrel of one high-status man at Pampa La Cruz contained 6 metal fish hooks, including the largest example ever unearthed in Peru. These hooks are so big that they would have only been used to hunt large fish such as sharks. The grave also contained 2 cobblestones which once wrapped in cotton strings that were likely fishing lines, as well as 2 flat bone tools that resemble implements still used today by fishermen in Huanchaco to repair nets. This high-status man, whom Prieto dubbed the Fisher Chief, was buried with all the equipment necessary to hunt sharks. But Prieto unearthed almost no shark remains at Pampa La Cruz, where people seem to have consumed mainly small and medium-sized fish and shellfish. He concluded that the Fisher Chief probably had a ceremonial right or ritual responsibility to catch sharks, rather than an obligation to provide shark meat to the community. I have a thought on that, by the way. As an analogy, Prieto points to some indigenous groups in the Amazon whose chiefs must still hunt jaguars, that ecosystem's top predator, in order to show that they are fit to rule. Perhaps reasons Prieto, the fishing community in Pampa La Cruz, retained in memory that their ancestors in Guarmolote had been brave shark hunters and sought leaders who could hunt and kill the ocean's most dangerous predator. Interesting. I'm going to just take another sip of tea. So, it's really fascinating that to hunt sharks, not necessarily, if a culture is hunting sharks but not for sustenance and for symbolism, this is just so kind of a far out there hypothesis, but I really wonder if somehow in the line of tradition, like shark meat is high in urea, and so it's kind of like not super palatable. It depends. The most extreme example being Greenland sharks having poisonous meat. So I wonder, and this is like a hypothesis. It's based on just. It's literally a question, but I wonder what if the tradition of shark hunting for ceremonial purposes may in part have started with this, like, what if other fishes were edible, but sharks, because they're the apex predator, because of their unique biology in which they do have a high urea content, maybe they weren't as edible, or maybe in this area, maybe they were not really the right thing to eat. And so they weren't really useful as a food item, but they still carried that significance as, like, a powerful predator and something that symbolized. I'm curious if they're. I'm curious, and again, this is not. The article's not saying this. I'm just kind of like curious. What if, because we know that sharks have a high urea content, and shark meat is not as good quality as like fish meat. So I really wonder about that. Like, I wonder if in part maybe shark meat was unpalatable, and so that helped shape some of the mythology of, well, we don't really eat this. This is more of like a symbol or something. I don't know. I legitimately don't know. I just think it's really interesting. It's kind of interesting for thought. Because Greenland shark again can kill you. Like if it's not treated correctly. So. And people still do shark today. So this might be kind of a far-fetched theory. People do eat it. But like artisanal fishermen eat shark. But I don't know. It's kind of interesting. So food for thought. But oh wow! Howard, I found a Hybotus clasper fossil for sale the other night. Oh my gosh, that is really cool. Wow, let me know if out of curiosity, how much was it? Just out of curiosity. Ooh, Mingus, like the power of we can kill this apex ocean predator, but we cannot properly eat it. Love that. That is so interesting, actually. Like a reverence for something. And that actually relates to what the article was saying about jaguar hunting, where they hunted the jaguar as more of like a symbol. So it kind of reminds me of like Maasai tradition with lions, like Maasai warriors in I think that's southeastern Africa. I could be wrong about where that is, but like there is a similar thing with the relationship of that culture of lions. So it's really, really interesting stuff. So let's see. Between 500 and 550, Pampa La Cruz became part of the Moche world. The main village was demolished and moved 100 yards closer to the ocean. The people of Pampa La Cruz began to be buried with Moche pottery and other artifacts such as textiles depicting humans rendered the Moche style. Prieto found that the storage areas of houses dating to this period were significantly smaller than those dwellings that preceded them. Perhaps the villagers were now compelled to supply food to people living some distance away. It's possible that once they were part of the Moche world, they had to exchange or barter most of their food at the urban center around the pyramids. The process of becoming part of the working world was a complex one, and notes Prieto, probably not entirely peaceful. Many human burials his team has unearthed at Pampa La Cruz dating to this period showed evidence of violent trauma. Interesting. This is really interesting. A line drawing of artwork on Moche ceramic vessel shows a mythical fishing expedition with figures seated on animate reed boats hooking fantastical fish. So let's see if we could see anything here. This is beautiful. This is so... okay, there's actually some things we can see. This is wild. Right. That, I think, is a shark. Actually, there's a lot going on here. Wow, there's so much going on. There's so much going on here. Okay. Let me know, guys, in the chat your observations too. There is a lot going on here. So yeah, let me zoom out so you guys can properly see. So I'm gonna get the optimal view. There we go. Okay. So this figure right here, there's a lot happening. So firstly, you can see very clearly a fin, you know, like a pectoral fin. You can see very clearly triangular teeth, a huge mouth, and what looks to be like rostral cartilage. And these lines, they almost emulate gill slits. And then what this fisherman is hooking, that looks so much like a shark, where, you know, you have the rostral cartilage here, the large mouth, the triangular teeth, and also clearly like the dorsal fin, and what seems to be a pelvic fin. So, and a caudal fin right here. It has like these beautiful exaggerated points, but, you know, here it is. This is so fascinating. And I really love that the rope, it has a serpent's head on it. And it's kind of amazing that this is... Immediately you think of snakes, vipers, how they ensnare their prey. And maybe this culture developed like a relationship between, you know, okay, snakes go after their prey like this. We want to be like the snake to hook something with our own fangs, or aka fishing hooks. It is actually interesting to see a serpent motif here and here. So, you know, with the fisherman holding a rope serpent, and then the reed boat that he's on holding a serpent as well. There's so much going on in this drawing. This is amazing, actually. So, oh, Howard, I want this on my wall. Yes, absolutely. It's so unique and beautiful. So, and Howard, yes, stingray and shark. Oh my gosh, sorry. There's a lot of comments. Hold on, I got to catch up. I'm so sorry. Also, this is so funny. Okay, so my likes button and dislikes button have inverted. So I have 3 dislikes but 3 likes on this thing on my actual channel. So this is the update. That's really stupid that it's doing that. Sorry, but I appreciate the support, guys. I appreciate the likes. That, like, it's my software that I'm using that screwed it up. It's really funny. Okay, summertime didn't start here yet, and your summertime did. That kind of threw me off. Now I'm late. Could the old culture hunt for sharks, bragging rights, and stop competition? Yep. Well, stingray and shark, meaning ancient people like fishing people still say sometimes hate other species because they catch fish which fisherman wants to catch too. Let's see. Hate other species because they catch fish which fisherman wants to catch too. So I'm just I'm processing. Oh, I see. Sorry, Bibia. So, first comment. Sorry, I was just trying to make sure I read that correctly. So, first comment. So, yeah, it's it's still, the water's still really cold. I can't do anything remotely snorkeling related yet or diving related yet. Still really cold here, but nature is starting to like the general. It definitely in general is starting to feel like spring. So I'm sorry it still is winter, but I hope it kind of picks up soon. Could the old culture hunt sharks for bragging rights and to stop competition? Oh, I see what you're saying. So that's a really interesting theory. So you're saying, did ancient peoples hunt sharks because they saw that sharks were efficient hunters and feared that sharks were taking away marine resources from them? That's a really interesting question. And that's a really great question, actually. Because that definitely happens today. A lot of animals are blamed for hunting. Sadly, in where I live in the Chesapeake Bay, my dear friend, the cow-nose ray, has been blamed for oyster declines, and that's not true. Like fishermen have declined the oysters, but they made a scapegoat out of the cow-nose ray and they blame it. They do that with seals. They do that with there's another famous animal. So that's a really good question. I think it's a good question. I think it's very relevant for today. I honestly wonder if it would not be as relevant back then, only because the ocean was just so rich and resplendent. Like, it really was seen as like an endless bounty. And I feel like it wasn't until the 20th century where people started to reevaluate, wait a minute, is the ocean like depletable, or is the ocean able to be depleted? I really think that modern concern for the ocean, it really came in the 20th century, but before then, people mistakenly thought the ocean would never end and it would always be bountiful, and they never questioned how much they were taking. And so with that, I feel like before then, I would be surprised if ancient cultures competed with sharks, but I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. So that's a really good question, and kind of related to that, I mean, I am thinking about, you do have, I don't know, because when I think about North American hunters who hunted the mammoth to extinction, I don't know, I mean, the ecosystem is it is quite delicate, and humans have had such an impact that they depleted mammoths very quickly. So I wonder, I mean, I think it's a really good question to ask. I'm on the side of I feel like the competition with marine species is kind of a modern sentiment, but it's a really good question, and I think it is worth asking. So thank you for asking. That was really interesting. So, Howard, I just saw your comment. Stingray and shark, yes. So absolutely on the left here. I want to make sure I have this. The chat can see this. Yes, there we go. So absolutely on the left. Clearly a stingray with the triangular shape and the long whip-like tail. So absolutely a stingray. Let me catch up on the comments. A lot of great comments here. Let's see. Minjas, wow, they had such a refined artistic view of the muzzle of the shark. That's so cool. The nose sticks out beyond the jaws. In my opinion, it really shows how much he knew about sharks. Yes, I'm going to star that. I absolutely agree with that. 100%. It is actually really cool to see. I mean, even the eye positioning. The eye is above the mouth. The mouth and the rostral cartilage is right in front of the eyes. So the way this is all oriented, they definitely know what they're depicting. So that's a great point. Yeah, this is so cool. How old is it? This is hundreds of years old. This would be, if this, I think they were saying this is from 500 AD. So for comparison, oh, great question. Is the animal between the boats a seal or a sea otter? I actually wonder if it's a sea lion. That's a great question. The squared off fins make me think of sea lion, but let me see what's in Peru. And let's see. For comparison, Roman Empire, let's see. Okay, so the Roman Empire collapsed in 476. So this is around a little bit before, or I guess a little bit after the fall of the Roman Empire, which is really fascinating, like how ancient this is. And then let me check. I know there's sea lions in Peru, but let's see sea otters. I don't think sea otters have a South American distribution, but I could be wrong about that. Because I think sea otters are North American. There are river otters, but I don't think there's. I'm just googling this right now because I'm kind of curious about this. Peruvian otter. The giant otter. Not in the coast, because I knew there was an otter in South America, but he's not on the coast, so that's in the Amazon. So I think it's a sea lion, but that's an excellent observation, though. It is a marine mammal of some kind. It clearly has that shape. So I also love, this is actually really powerful. Look at the transition where it's a shark head, it's a boat, and it's a human leg. So there's such an interconnectedness between these elements. Like, I am a shark and the boat and the sea. Like, I am all these things at once. So it's such a powerful image. Minja's true. Reminds me of the last living mammals on Wrangel Island, able to escape extinction for several thousands of years, but ultimately human contact with the island lies up with their extinction. That's incredible. I actually didn't know that that was the last stronghold of the mammoths. So, by the way, that reminds me of woolly mice. This has been hitting the news. I don't know much about it, but they are, I guess, inserting mammoth genes into mice to try to eventually recreate mammoths, but they're making mice. So we have the woolly mice, and I think it's really funny that I shouldn't make light of genetic tampering because I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan, and we all know how genetic tampering goes. But it's such a great. It is such a great little phrase, like woolly mice, like woolly mammoths. No, woolly mice. They're like a small package mammoth. It's just like, it's really interesting. So it reminds me of Chickensaurus, and I think I've talked about Chickensaurus before, but there was a team that was trying to retroactively. It's like bird. We know that birds are the descendants of dinosaurs. They're technically classified as dinosaurs, or a hyper modified dinosaur. And so they have in their genes, dinosaur genes, like the ancestral genes related to the dinosaurs. And so there was a research team that was trying to modify chicken genes to try to turn off the modern ones and turn on the ancient ones to see if they can get to Chickensaurus. It was like a project that was happening. This Chickensaurus is like about maybe a decade old now, and I don't think they made some progress with it. There was one embryo that developed into it was like a chicken, except it did not have a beak. It had like actual teeth, like a dinosaur. So it was a big thing. I don't know what they're doing with that now. I feel like that project may have been shuttered, but it is pretty interesting. So Minja said that my entire life I've heard mammoths in 10 years, but to see that mammoth genes that we have can successfully work in mammals is so sick. It is really interesting. It is really fascinating. I'm excited about the prospect of. It's like there's part of me that's excited about the prospect of reconstructing prehistoric species, especially species that went recently extinct. So like the thylacine, that's exciting to me. I am nervous. I am so nervous about how do you reintroduce a species into an ecosystem, and how can that animal be a vector of new diseases, as far as we're resurrecting an animal that was wiped out, and if we are able to successfully have it back, does it create a new opportunity for, not just itself, but also like, bacteria, diseases, not parasites, I guess, but diseases, to mutate in that animal system. I don't know. That part I'm nervous about. And I'm nervous about the ecological impact because we've been so unsuccessful with reintroducing species. We've been really terrible at using species. We as in humanity have been absolutely terrible at introducing species to new places to solve our problems, and turned out we make them worse. So, yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, I would be curious about it, but it is very interesting. So, Bibia, did they probably use poison from? Oh, that is so cool. Bibia, that's a great question. Did they probably use poison from snakes and stingrays to catch sharks and sea elephants' big marine life? That is an excellent question, and I've never heard of that, but that actually makes a lot of sense. That's really cool. I had not heard of that. But you might be right, and that might be what the snake is referring to. So that's really cool. I thought it would be more symbolic, but you actually might be right that they actually, you know, that could be a thing. That's really cool. Minja is understandable. It's hopefully just a substitute for reintroducing recently extinct animals rather than ancient animals. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Oh my god, big brain. Yep. Howard, and those are butterflies in front of each fisherman. Oh, interesting. So that is so cool. And I wonder, do you know what the significance would be as far as like what the butterflies are? Do you know what I'm noticing too? By the way, look at this. This figure, look at the lines on his cheek. This human figure, which kind of correlates with the shark motif. So these lines almost emulate the gill slits, you know. So, because these really strongly resemble shark gill slits, and I wonder if that's part of that interconnectedness, the feeling of interconnectedness between these elements. So, it's also really cool to see this circle motif of like this rope going into the water. The play of black and white is so interesting too. This is one of the most amazing pieces of shark art I've ever seen. This figure is especially interesting because it almost looks like they're wearing a mask. I think they are wearing the mask, and I wonder what the purpose of it would be. And this figure has kind of like what looks to be some kind of animal, like almost like a fox, kind of coming out of his hair. So this is so interesting. It's such an incredible piece. How it matches the shark. Oh my gosh, yes. Minjas, there's so much insane symbolism in art like this. I would saw an arm and a leg to be able to go back in time and ask for the exact thoughts in the world. Is so cool. Bibia666, I think that that rope has weight to sink or hold the animal. That is so cool. Minjas, but speculating on it is honestly part of the fun. I absolutely agree, and I love that it's like this is what art is. It's like it's interpretation. So, this is so cool. We're seeing so much from this. Where I think for me, the meaning I draw from this is just such a strong interconnectedness between sharks, the ocean, and what it is to be human, and a strong interconnectedness between shark is my identity, the ocean is my identity, I am shark, I am the ocean. Like I feel like there's such a strong interconnectedness between the elements so that they operate as one and the same, and the humans who are fishing and doing these things, like they're invoking the powers of the sea and the powers of the shark, which is analogous to North American shark cultures, and it's just so cool to see it. And I mean, there's so much that you can analyze here too. I really love that, like when you look at the size of things too, like the humans, it's kind of interesting if you look at the scale of the humans versus the scale of their boats versus the scale of the head of the sharks, where the largest thing in this picture is the shark's head. And the human is, like, you can kind of even go as far as to say, like, the human is kind of, you can almost make an argument for he is at the mercy of the elements, where he is not in complete control of, like, he's not like an equally large human. It's a human who has power, is invoking these elements, but he's not necessarily in complete control. Whereas the boat is larger than him, the shark's head is larger than it's not as large as the boat, but you know what I'm saying. It's just like, it is actually really interesting to see that there's almost I might be interpreting it too much, but I feel like there's almost this kind of suggestion that the ocean and the sharks are the dominant element, and the element that you are riding, you are going with their flow. You're not in control of that situation, And I think I think there's something interesting with that. So that's an interpretation. It might be a little bit, it might be too much to kind of think about that, but I just think it's really interesting. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is cool. Howard, is that shark holding a piece of bait in its hand? That's a great question. Or poisonous bottles. Bait can be true too. Bibia, that's both observations, guys, are really cool. The poison bottle is interesting because when you look at it, so it's a vial, right? But look what's coming out of it is a serpent motif, and maybe that snake is representing snake venom. So you might be right. It's kind of interesting to see this bottle right here has kind of like an amorphous shape. So it's also interesting to see this stingray almost has like a human face on it too. This is an incredible piece. A coiled rope unfurling to haul a shark in. This also, I wonder if this is too much, because this may be, it is kind of cool to see that you have, the hips and the legs are facing forward, but the torso is turned to us. And it is interesting, and the arms are spread wide. So it is interesting where it could be depicting, and the head is facing forward too. So it could be depicting hauling, like the motion of pulling the rope back. Actually, that might be what's actually going on. So the body position where, the head is forward, the feet and torso are forward, or sorry, the feet and waist are forward, and hips are forward, but the torso and chest are turned at an angle, and in the right hand is the rope, kind of like, it's like you're pulling a rope and, kind of like collecting it in your right hand, and they're hauling these fish out of the sea. So you can actually see the motion of this. I do think this is hauling, actually, now that I'm looking at this. So, because the actual gesture you have to do is that, like, like when you're pulling a rope out of the water, you're grabbing and kind of like letting it slide through your left hand. So that is actually really cool. It's a show of strength, That is so cool. So they're actually, you can see this piece is so old, but you can see the motion in it. That is amazing, And also, you see these like feathery looking things at the top? I wonder if these are waves. Like you know how like the water splashes the bow of a boat? And then the shark erupting from the water, this may depict waves, like how, like when it breaks the surface of the water, the waves are kind of coming over the head. So they're actually, it's incredible to see there's so much motion in this. This is so cool. Howard, each boat has a rope hanging off the side with a net on the end. So I think... Oh my gosh, they're definitely fishing the edge of the piece. Amazing. Oh my gosh, thank you guys. Thank you, Minjas, and thank you, Bibia666. Each boat has a rope hanging off the side with a net on the end. Oh, wait. Oh, right. Howard, good observation. So, right here, is this what you're talking about right here? Because, like, this is so amazing. So we have this rope, which presumably is the anchor down here. And then here might be the catch. This kind of crisscross shape might be the net. And actually, these little spheres might be balls, might be kind of weights or pebbles or stones, kind of actually, let me think about that. Because if it was like a deep water, or not deep water, I feel like you would want weights if you were collecting shellfish, but you wouldn't want weights if you're collecting fish. So maybe on the flip side, but what would you make out of floats? I was about to say, well, maybe they're floats, but you know, I do feel like these are interesting features, like these black spheres here. Like maybe there's some adornment of the net of some kind. There are black spheres in the back of this here, but this almost looks like kind of like a seat. This actually might be a boat seat here, but this one is distinctly crisscross, so I do think this one at least is definitely a net. And it's really cool. This figure that you point out, Howard, is independent of the boats and has a gaping mouth and has what we all think is like marine mammal fins. So this is probably depicting that scene of fishing and the technique and what you do with it. And then here is like a fishing thief, like sea lions being a bait thief, you know. So it's so interesting. Man, this is so cool, guys. This is like, we are Indiana Jones. Like this is just we're interpreting the past. This is so cool. Like amazing stuff. So probably right about the anchor. Oh, Bibia, nets need wait too often. So good point. Yeah, it's such a great conversation piece. Absolutely. So I didn't realize it's almost 10:30. So we'll wrap up. We'll continue reading about Peruvian shark culture, and then actually, if you guys have a shark suggestion for next week, please leave a comment below. We did talk about the pygmy shark potentially, but because we haven't done that one yet. But I'm open to any kind of suggestion. So let me know in the comments what you'd like to cover next week, and we'll continue learning about Peruvian shark culture. So. And I know I love tangents like this, and this is a good tangent episode because let me go back to our species. The peppered catshark, there's unfortunately not a lot of information on this species, and it is doing well. It is least concern. So I really like that this species, in a way, turned into a gateway of general shark culture, so which is really cool. So, but yeah, the peppered catshark, least concern, found in the Gulf of California with some accounts in Peru, so which kind of led to this Peruvian shark culture dive. So let's keep going because I think this is a fascinating subject, and we're all really excited about it too. So let's see. Prieto was convinced that even the people of Pampa La Cruz fell under the influence of the Moche belief system. Deep sea fishing likely retained its important symbolic role. He was particularly interested in the fact that a common motif on Moche pottery features extravagantly costumed fishermen hunting large sea beasts from reed boats. These animals are sometimes identifiable as sharks or other deep-sea fish, but they're also depicted as chimeras, fantastic creatures that combine features in improbable and frequently bizarre combinations, such as beasts with shark jaws and human limbs. Often the boats themselves seem to be alive, and they are portrayed aiding the fishermen in hunting down marine prey. In these depictions, the reed boats piloted by the mythic fishermen resembled the ones in Juan Chaco today. This is so cool. As studied in these images, Prieto concluded that the people responsible for the spread of the Moche belief system incorporated the symbolism of deep-sea hunting that was so important to the people of small fishing communities such as Pampa La Cruz into their own religion. Perhaps, thought Prieto, these already ancient beliefs tied to hunting sharks and deep-sea chimeras were included in the Moche ritual system to bolster the appeal of the new ideology to the people of the coast. Thus, the shark hunting traditions of the Gramalote villagers may have lived on or in Moche art. So, this is more art here. So cool. And perhaps even in Moche rituals themselves. It was clear for me the Moche took this tradition and included as part of their religious discourse as Prieto. It was one way to legitimize incorporating the fishing villages into their territory. Interesting. Appreciate that, guys. Yeah, sure. Pygmy shark. All right, let's do that. Pygmy shark. I think that's Euprotomicros bispinatus. I'm just gonna make sure I got the name in there. Yeah, there he is. Okay. Actually, don't you love it when you like turn the book open to exactly the right page that you want? Like, it's a fun, rare feeling, and you feel like you're on top of the universe when that happens. So, Euprotomicros. It's kind of funny. I'm such a nerd with books sometimes. I even like, yeah, I'll be reading like books on Chesapeake Bay and I'll like fall asleep, and like just even having it, you know, as I'm like sleeping is just kind of like, it's kind of like comforting in a weird way. I don't know. I'm kind of a nerd with marine science books, and hilariously enough, I'm not really like, I don't really read that much fiction, but nonfiction, I'm all over it. So it's kind of hilarious. But by that was a random tangent. By Spinatus. There we go. Pygmy shark. Euprotomicris bispinatus. Here we go. So that's gonna be an especially cool one for next week because that is the smallest shark in the world. And what's kind of cool, totally time for coffee. If not back in time, I'll get to see you next week. Thank you so much. If we don't see you back, thank you so much, Bibia666. Enjoy your coffee. Hope you have a good brew. Hope you have a really, really good brew. Howard, I wonder if ancient people came across a fossilized associated dentition and then tried to recreate it. That would be really cool. It just feels like the planets light up to allow you to open the exact page you were thinking of. Yes, thank you. So, Howard, I am all nonfiction too. Yeah, it's just like I could just devour that stuff. It's like, and it's what's really cool is like I'm currently reading a mix of Chesapeake Bay books at once and kind of breaking it down by habitat, and it's kind of fun that for context, I'm reading about like forest habitat, marsh habitat, intertidal zone habitat. But it's kind of funny that like as you get older and you get more focused on your favorite subject, I'm getting more and more impatient where it's like I'm trying to like read through it as quickly as possible to get to open water habitat and kind of like dive into that deeply to understand how the sharks of the bay are fitting into their ecosystem right now. So I don't know if you guys are able to see this, but actually. I don't want to screw up my system, but I'm recording. I have a map of the North Atlantic here, and I've got these cool little shark charts here, kind of recording who's in the area right now based on water temperature. So we got two species. We got the dusky smoothhound and the piked dogfish back in this area. We theoretically have basking sharks, but those are so big and they're so rare that I don't. They would have been seen by now, but I feel like basket sharks have been found in the bay, but they're so rare and they're so large that I feel like people don't see them because like the bay has a lot of activity, and so you would think you would run into a basket shark. I'm kind of rambling at this point, but long story short, I'm a shark nerd, as you know. It's stream 108, as you know. So, but anyway. Prieto's theory received dramatic support when he unearthed the burials of the sharks and other deep-sea creatures beneath Pampa La Cruz's Moche-era platform. Whether it was local people or Moche priests who were responsible for these burials, the people who interred the animals honored ancient rites associated with deep-sea fishing. The fish and whales were even arranged in such a way that they all appear to be swimming east. Oh, wow. As if migrating inland from the waters of the Pacific towards the Moche Valley. Whoever managed to hunt the animals had to have been highly skilled. Similarly, the people who placed the fish and whales below the platform also clearly had innate knowledge of their behavior. We don't know for certain who buried the sea creatures, says Prieto, but the fact that they were included in the construction of such an important building is probably the result of a negotiation among higher-ups such as Moche priests and local leaders who had their own tradition that went back to the days of Gramalote. So this is incredible. Here is a Kogia whale. Kogia, I want to say that's actually. I was about to say I'm not as well versed as whale. Let me before I say anything randomly. Let me determine what kind of whale that is. A Kogia whale. It is a sperm whale. Okay. Actually, wait a minute. No. Ancient Kogia whale. It should be, because Kogia is a sperm, so the modern sperm whales are called, the pygmy sperm whales are called Kogia. It is a sperm whale. Okay, it's a pygmy sperm whale or dwarf sperm whale. So, it's amazing that the whales and the sharks are intentionally buried eastward facing. It's kind of amazing when you think of the orientation. So the ocean is west and the mountains are east. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. I wonder what the symbolism is in that. So What's really cool, by the way, it's incredible to see. You can clearly see how differently sharks and whales decay and fossilize. Where sharks, you just have the vertebral column, like the big mouth and the vertebral column, looking like a sea serpent. Whales, you can clearly see how eerily similar they are to, they are mammals, so you can see the similarities where you have rib cages, you have high vertebrae, or like vertebral columns of like high. I don't know exactly what to call this feature, like high, like these knobs, like these fins. I'm not exactly sure what to call that on the vertebrae, but eerily enough, because whales are mammals and have similar ancestry, their fins, the bones are analogous to hands. So you can kind of see that here. It's a little eerie. And I would not be surprised if ancient cultures had beliefs in transformation where they see human hands and they see like the whales like fins or flippers. Just to kind of for comparison, let's see if we could do sperm whale skeleton. Yeah, there we go. You see what I mean? Like, okay, that's a right whale, but at the same point, like, because it's a whale, it's a mammal, and it has similar ancestry to ours. So the fins are actually analogous to hands. So you can easily see when you look at a whale skeleton. Oh my gosh! Like, you can easily, if you're an ancient culture, there's such an easy connection between like, wow, like I have similar features to this. Maybe we do transform in a different life into a different animal. So it's pretty incredible to think about that. So yeah. So, oh Howard, I love that comment, by the way. We only have so much time, so we might as well spend time saying something that speaks to you. Amen. I love that. I really love that. Real, oh my god, like I care about it all, but I want to read the stuff I'm obsessed with. Absolutely. Love that too, Minjas. Thank you. Let's see. I'm just catching up on the comments. This is really fun chat, guys. I really, really love the comments. Amazing hands. Yes, yes, absolutely. It's so cool. And I actually really love that, like, I love science. I love, what we've discovered. I find it so fascinating and like affirming and just like beautiful. But it is really cool to kind of compare what we know today with the beliefs of the past. And I think with that, you kind of evoke a different, it's cool. You find meaning in a different approach where it's like we know that, we know through science that whales and humans do have a common ancestor. They've evolved on very distant, very separate branches of evolution, but they have a common ancestor, and this is why they have analogous features. Like we have shoulder blades, we have hands, or not hands, but like, you know what I mean, like the wrists, like the finger bones, we have the rib cage, we have a vertebral column, like there's analogous features, right? Via evolution. And it is like really cool that even though that is the truth of why this exists, for a culture that doesn't know or hasn't yet realized that's what's going on, the interpretation of transformation and looking at that situation in a different lens, it's kind of cool because it's kind of meaningful to see it and be like, oh wow, we're connected. And actually, both evolution and these ancient beliefs arrive at the same conclusion in completely different angles, but just that we're connected. Like we are all connected. Like us and life are just and other creatures. Like there's such an incredible interconnectedness there. So I just think that's really cool. I love this stuff. This is so interesting. So we'll keep going to be mindful of time. This is an amazing article. So there is a sunfish. An ancient sunfish. It's wild, actually, to see that skeleton. Actually, I do want to see that skeleton selfishly because I've been fortunate enough to be to see a wild living sunfish. That was 2 years ago, off in Norfolk Canyon. It's an amazing skeleton, such a unique fish, and I love these fish. A lot of people kind of like give these fish a lot of hate, and it makes me sad. I stand the sunfish. I absolutely stand that sunfish. I'm like, it's misunderstood and awesome. So it's a cool fish. So, the Pamela Cruz burial ground will contribute to archaeologists understanding the ideology and rituals of the Moche world. Oh, interesting. Okay, previous generations of scholars envisioned that Moche spreading their ideology through warfare. There was this vision of the Moche conquering River Valley after River Valley and bringing their religion with them, but that's changing. New excavations are showing the Moche world was actually much more diverse. It now seems that Moche traditions were not spread strictly through violent coercion as been thought, but also through a complex series of encounters between the Moche and local people who had their own belief systems. These beliefs weren't extinguished, but instead found new expressions within a Moche tradition. It isn't a story about conquest, it's about adaptation. The Moche world came to an end sometime around 800 AD, after which the village of Pampa La Cruz was abandoned. People belonging to the latter Chimu culture used this site as a cemetery where they interred hundreds of ritually sacrificed... I don't want to read that out loud. It's possible the beliefs associated with the Fisher chiefs didn't die out completely. Today, the traditional fishermen of Huanchaco avidly follow Prieto's excavations. After learning about the discovery of a cemetery that included oceanic creatures, it reminded him that in their grandparents' time, fishermen would always offer the biggest fish in their catch to God. They would do this as an act of thanks for the abundance of the ocean's bounty, perhaps an echo of the beliefs that led the people of Pampa La Cruz to bury sharks beneath their temple. Wow. These are amazing images, by the way, so here we go. So these are excavation of the ritual platform of the ancient village of Pampa La Cruz. So here we go. So these are whale skeletons here. Human skeletons in this burial site. Oh, actually, a shark skeleton. Let me zoom in on that. I almost missed that. If I can. So human skeletons here, but this is a shark skeleton right here. This long vertebral column is a shark. There's some kind of fish here. These two are whales. There's something here. I can't quite tell what that is. And that's it. So, yeah. That's honestly an amazing piece. You know, so I really appreciate just kind of like, need to get ready for class tomorrow. I'm so happy I was able to catch your stream again. Thank you so much for the shark study party. Thank you, Minjas. I really appreciate you joining, and good luck in class tomorrow. Hope you have a great week. Bibia 66, big animals equals lots of fat in case of shark liver oil, and fat oil can be used to cook or for heating and lighting because it burns. That's a really good point. And it's actually, you know what, Bibia, that's a great point, especially with the fact that they have whales. So sperm whales, the massive actual sperm whale, famously, it's called a sperm whale because of spermaceti, which is the oil in its head cavity. I think the oil is in its head, but it's used for like lamps. It was very valuable. And it's interesting that the whales that they are burying here are Kogia whales, which are pygmy sperm whales. I don't know the anatomy of pygmy sperm whales very well, so I don't know if they too have spermaceti. Let's see if we can find that out, actually. So, Kogia whale. Okay. So we'll do... So this is what Kogia looks like. So this is a dwarf sperm whale or pygmy sperm whale. So... we'll do the pygmy sperm whale. There we go. Okay. Like its giant relative, the sperm whale, the pygmy sperm whale has a spermaceti organ in its forehead. So this is... Yeah, there we go. Spermaceti substance, waxy substance found in the head cavity of the sperm whale. It's... Yeah, so these are things that sperm whales were hunted for. Um, Used to make candles, ointments. Gotcha. So, gotcha. So I'm actually curious that like because they're hunting Kogia whales, if that's related to the oil used there. So that's a really good point. So I appreciate that, movie. Thank you. Silly comment. So. Yep. So keeping it professional. So I think since we have 15 minutes left, I'm really glad we spent as much time on the Peruvian article. I want to make sure that even though this Peppered Catshark have a lot of information on it, I do want to make sure that we cover as much as we can on it. So let's check out if there's anything on the species in particular. I thought I had some. There we go. Okay. Some observations in the ecology of Galeus piperatus, a little-known shark endemic to the northern Gulf of California. So, here we go. So the pepper cat shark, Galeus piperatus. Also, I acknowledge that this display is being really weird. I'm not sure. We can see those images really well earlier, but I apologize for this weird chopped-off abstract. So I'll promise I'll read this really quickly. The peppered shark, or peppered catshark, is a dwarf shark found in the Gulf of California, north of the city of Guayama, Sonora. It has been taken in June and August 1971, and in February and March 1972. It's found from 130 to 550 meters, with maximum abundances of 170 to 420 meters deep. Numbers are higher in June and August than in February and March. In June and August 1971, the area of distribution included all the waters north of Isla Tiburon and Isla Angel de la Guarda. Isla Tiburon is interesting. This is Shark Island. This is Spanish for Shark Island, which is pretty interesting. And Isla Angel de la Guarda, and below the 130-meter isobath. During these months, Galeus piperatus was found at 12 and 33, 33 stations respectively, but was taken at only one station in the same area during February and March 1972. The fishing effort expanded during these periods was 16, 42, and 16 years respectively. It seems likely that strong migratory movement causes these differences in abundance and distribution. The pepper catshark has been taken from 50 to 100 meters off the bottom in midwater trawls at night and is clearly a midwater and demersal form. So that's actually really cool. So we talked about how this catshark, has a big mouth, like the other sawtail catsharks. It might stick close to the bottom, and it's kind of cool that this article somewhat confirms that. Sexually mature females carrying olive green egg cases were taken in large numbers in June 1971, and were also present in reduced numbers in 1971 as well. Only females 18 centimeters or more in total length carried egg cases. So this is a really small shark. The migration of the pepper catshark into the North Gulf of California appears to coincide with sexual maturity. So that's actually a bit of information on that species where, like a few other sharks, it seems to take migrations, or has varying seasonal abundance, and it sounds like it's confirmed to be an egg layer, which makes sense because it is a cat shark, but pretty interesting. This is a checklist, so that won't have specific information. Here we go. I think this is the last article that actually has something on the species specifically, so we'll do this and wrap this up for tonight. So, essential and non-essential elements in the endemic pepper catshark of deep ocean waters from the northern Gulf of California. Okay. This is like a chemical study. In this study, the levels of... Oh, gosh. Oh, man. Do you guys... I should know this. Do you guys know what these elements are? Let's see if we got this. Actually, these are terrible, because these are not your basics, really. So, let me know, if you guys are periodic table fans, let me know what these elements are. This is zinc, for sure. I believe this is lead. So, lead and zinc. I should know the rest of these. I want to say this is copper. Copper, lead, and zinc, but I could be wrong. Let me know if you guys know. Oh, Howard, wait a minute. Did you get my drawing? Oh shoot, did I? Oh shoot. Okay. I'm sorry, Howard. I think when did I get this? I think I got this after I set up the stream. I'm so sorry. What I'll do is I'll process it and put it on the channel for this week, and then I'll highlight it in the next week's stream. So, oh my gosh, Howard, not my monkey, not my circus. So appreciate that. But sorry, Howard. So I did get it, but I think I got it after I set the stream up. So I once I set like the pre-window up, I step away for a little bit. Usually make that cup of tea before I hop on. So, but what I'll do is I'll put it on the channel in the community page, and then I'll show it. This is a really cool piece. I do have it on my phone now, of the hook-tooth shark. So I definitely want to show it next week. So I'll display it for next week's stream. So thank you so much for saying that, because it looks really cool. And it is a awesome example of this cousin of the snaggletooth shark, so it's awesome. So thank you so much for sending it. I promise I'll display it for the channel and then show it next week. So, and then Bibia, here we go. Oh, thank you. I appreciate your comment. Dr. John's the best. I appreciate that. Arsenicum, copper, mercury. Mercury. Okay. Mercury. Oh, thank you. Selenium. Okay. Selenium, I'm cool with. As far as not getting that. Arsenicum, I think in America we call it arsenic, but every nomenclature is different. Because in America we say aluminum. I think in the United Kingdom it's aluminium, and elsewhere it's something else. So. But interesting. Mercury is so important, and I should have gotten that one. So thank you, by the way. Thank you for your periodic table knowledge, because that's really helpful. I really should have gotten mercury. That's terrible, because mercury is such an important element for sharks and just fishes, because like a lot of animals like a lot of animals that are in fisheries, they can have a high mercury content, and it can actually get to the point, and have gotten to the point of like poisoning people. So, man, I should have gotten that one. So thank you, Bibia. Let's see. Is CD cadmium? Let's see. You know, it's really funny. In college, I was very good at biology. I was okay at physics. I was not good at chemistry. I don't know what it was about chemistry, but I could not do that right. My fiance is really good at chemistry. Like she really likes it, but you know, for me, I don't really. Cadmium's the element. So Bibia, in small amounts it's necessary, but the dose makes it poisonous. Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good point. So. But here we go. Okay, I appreciate that tangent, because like the periodic elements, I get why people like them as far as remembering them and stuff. It's actually really cool, but it's not my strong suit. Like Howard said, not my monkeys, not my circus. It's not my strong suit. So much more biology guy. And what's kind of funny is like typically people are one. I've heard a rumor that people are one or the other. They usually either love biology, hate chemistry, or love chemistry and hate biology. Some people like both, and that's actually really great, because you kind of need both to do either one. So properly, especially for like ecology and stuff. So, but here we go. In this study, the levels of arsenic, cadmium, copper, mercury, lead, selenium, and zinc. And all of these are like the American names. I know they're slightly different in different languages or in different different countries. So shout out to arsenicum, copper, and mercury. So and then aluminium, which is not on here, but shout out to aluminium. But here we go. Mercury molar ratios in muscle and liver of the endemic cat shark, Galeus piperatus, from the northern Gulf of California, and relationships with biological parameters were determined. Arsenic presented the highest levels for both tissues, and lead the lowest. Fun trivia fact, you see how lead is Pb? The shark Carcharodontis plumbeus, which is the sandbar shark, it is intentionally named plumbeus in reference to lead, in reference to its gray color. So it's like when the original authors named Carcharodontis plumbeus, they said it kind of has like a lead-like color, so we'll just call it plumbeus, meaning lead. So PB plumbeus, there's a relationship there, which is kind of fun little shark trivia. But the selenium mercury molar ratios were greater than 1. Sex was not a determining factor in the accumulation of elements. The differences in the levels of the studied elements between tissues might be due to their physiological functions and the availability of the metalloids. The diet was considered as an important contribution pathway of these elements, despite the fact that the peppered catshark feeding habits are still unknown. More research is necessary to clearly understand the interactions between the biology of the peppered catshark and the bioavailability of the studied elements, and use this endemic shark species as a potential deep-sea biomonitor in the northern Gulf of California. So, awesome. So, it's really cool. This shark is going to be, let's see, biomonitor. Okay, so that's actually really cool. So, sorry, this shark can be kind of like, essentially, this is a bad terminology, but like, an indicator, I was about to say dipstick, but an indicator of the health of a deep sea environment. And that's actually really cool because all sharks, even the smallest ones, they're proportionally really big animals relative to other organisms in an ocean system. So they are a really good monitor or dipstick or indicator of marine ecosystem health. Like their abundance, their presence, and their actual molecular makeup, or like their health as an individual, like are a good indicator of the health of the environment. Because they are top predators, even the smallest ones, again, when you compare it to the fact that most of the ocean is plankton, copepods, worms, small crustaceans, small fish, like sharks, all sharks, even the tiniest ones, are actually top predators. They're high up there in the food chain, and they're comparatively really big animals. So it's actually really cool to see that this species in particular is going to be a bioindicator potentially for deep sea environments. And all sharks can be seen as bioindicators of the health of environments. So that's actually really cool. So I think we'll wrap up with a really cool clip and call it a night. But really appreciate everybody being here tonight for tonight's stream. So the peppered catshark lives in the Gulf of California, which is or also known as the Sea of Cortez, and it's a very famous location for encountering other shark species, including whale sharks. So I want to wrap up tonight just kind of playing some footage of some of the wildlife encounters people can have. You can see actually here, this guy is just snorkeling with a whale shark. So there are opportunities to be very close to these animals. And do I have a slow playback speed? I actually might have this. Make sure I got that. Oh no, this is normal playback speed. So this is just slow motion from the video. So, but I believe these encounters with whale sharks are in Mexico. Specifically, I don't think California actually, or I don't think you could be with these animals in California. I think you have to be in Mexico, even though it's called the Gulf of California sometimes. So, but it's an amazing encounter. So just kind of want to showcase. Sorry, I want to skip that interview. Just want to showcase. Want to skip that interview too. There we go. Just want to showcase the fact that you can actually be with sharks in this really cool environment. I've heard that you can snorkel with leopard sharks in high concentrations in the Sea of Cortez or Gulf of California, and it's really amazing. like whale sharks are just such beautiful, peaceful. Like gentle giants, so it's actually really cool that you can do these opportunities or have these like snorkeling opportunities with them. So just want to highlight this ecosystem. So this is the shallower side of the Sea of Cortez, and then further deep down is where you can get into where you can see the peppered catshark. So we unfortunately don't have any footage of the peppered catshark because it's a beautiful nudibranch. We unfortunately don't have any footage of the peppered catshark. Nice moray. Ooh, scalped hammerheads. There's a lot of opportunities here. Green turtle, I think. So really cool spot. Really, really cool spot. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Don't want to see the interviews. I think we pretty much saw really the majority of that. So, all right. So, next 4 years going to get worse for healthy wildlife. New administration. Yeah. So like the nice thing is, And I definitely want to address that comment because that's a very good point. The nice thing is there's layers of, sorry, hold on, just getting the music set. And agree, beautiful Bibia 666. But yeah, so unfortunately, absolutely right. The new administration in the United States is like, it's awful. A lot of the funding being cut. NOAA in particular, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, has had a lot of rollbacks. So that's really upsetting. But I do want to just kind of remind everybody that there are layers as far as in the United States. There's the federal layer, there's the state layer, there's the county layer, and they all actually like have varying levels of independence as far as operating marine protected areas. There's like state parks or state refuges. There's local county parks, local refuges. So there's layers, and with that, I kind of hold on to that and care about that. Especially, for example, Virginia has a really good state park system and a lot of really cool opportunities to hang out with wildlife and a lot of really cool conservation focuses. And on top of that, there are a lot of very what's the word? I'm trying to find the right wording for this. There's a lot of very entrenched institutions when you think about things like the Virginia Institute of Marine Science, the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, MIT, which coordinates with Woods Hole, Scripps Ocean Institute. There's a lot of at Mote Marine Lab, which is in Florida. It's like there's a lot of universities, programs, things that do get a mix of federal and private funding. And grant funding from a variety of people. I just want to take a moment where I want to address that. Like, yes, the administration is really concerning as far as like environment and rolling back some things, but I do want to reassure, kind of as an American, that there's layers and there's a lot that has been in place that is very difficult to dismantle. In terms of like marine protected areas and all the things you have to do to kind of like really roll back on them, and on top of that, those institutions that I was naming, they have a really rich history and a really like in-depth conservation legacy that they want to uphold, and they have some independence in order to be able to uphold. So I do want to take a moment to address that especially because the news is disturbing, and it is alarming, and it's not just the news. The events are disturbing. I absolutely want to acknowledge that the events are genuinely disturbing, and this is not good. No debating that at all. But I think with that, just like in conservation in general, there can be a kind of a depressing like kind of spiral of just cascading bad news, and I just want to highlight some of the good things that are kind of baked into just the field. I mean, when you think of shark research, you've got some of the leaders of shark research in the world are like Australia and institutions in the United States, and there's people who do have a lot of passion for these animals and a lot of passion for marine conservation. And also, I feel like the general public doesn't really know like how much work we've done and we continue to do, and how much of our like lands and waters are like have some kinds of protection. So I just want to I do want to share that. I don't want to diminish anything because you're absolutely right. But I do want to I do want to share that there is some good. There's layers. There's people who how do I say it? Like, there's layers. There's layers that I think are good to be hopeful about. So and I'm sorry. I just want to catch up on the comments as you think the politicians would want to save sharks out of professional courtesy. Yeah, I mean, honestly, everything is connected as far just like going back to what we're talking about with the beautiful like Peruvian shark art. I mean, really everything is connected, where even if you looked at it like a utilitarian way, You have to invest in marine resources. You have to create conservation areas if you want to continue using marine resources. Like if you want to continue to have like oysters and crabs and tuna and like rockfish, you need to make sure you can allow them to grow. And I think people. I think the people who pull those levers, like when they're actually involved, there is an understanding there. It's not universal, but like I don't know how to describe it. I think I just always come back to the fact that in the Chesapeake Bay system, which that's my backyard, there was a concerted effort between government and local communities to bring back striped bass, to bring back blue crabs. Oysters are a mix because like oysters have been almost completely destroyed, and they're barely hanging on right now, where there are incentive programs to do aquaculture and plant oyster reefs, and they do work, and we do have oysters in the bay, but their levels are so much lower. That's one species that we haven't done a great job at bringing back. But we have done a good job about bringing back like striped bass. We have done a great job of bringing back bald eagles. That almost went extinct, but until we realized DDT. So Bibia, do not trust SCOTUS one bit. States do okay, especially the coastal ones, but federal looks bleak. But keep up the fight, staying positive is important too. Indeed, definitely agree. And that you summed it up much better than I just did, because that's when I highlight the positive things, that's exactly what I mean. Where it's like, it's very easy to spiral into the doom and forget the reasons we should be hopeful. It's like if anybody's a fan of the Lord of the Rings, it's like Samwise telling to Frodo, like, there's good in this world and it's worth fighting for. That's what I'm trying to say. So as far as like on the state level, in the private institution level, on the local level, especially for the people who are on that water and like in those areas, like there's layers, and there's layers of institutions and layers of marine protected areas and layers of conservation that do take a while to dismantle. If you really want to dismantle them, they take a while. So like we've there's a lot of work to do, but there has been a lot of work that has been done. And I guess to kind of wrap it up, like one thing I've learned about the bay that I didn't realize is a lot of the bay actually is modified habitat, but modified for its own benefit. And specifically, we have a lot of, what's the term for this? A lot of these like rock pilings in different areas in the bay, and it's actually a form of holding the shoreline together to prevent like shoreline erosion and also sand deposition in other areas like seagrass meadows or other areas that like oyster beds that would really suffocate from all that sand. So and that's something that's been like going on for years and years and years. Recently we've started to see a return in actually let me pull up my alma mater really quick. William and Mary Oysters. Because there was some good news recently. There we go. All right. Okay, this is it. So this was I think Howard knows this. I don't know if you know this, Bibia, but this is my alma mater. This is the College of William and Mary, which love it. This is actually associated with the Virginia Institute of Marine Science. So William and Mary is the main university, but it liaison or it's part of the Virginia Institute of Marine Science. The Virginia Institute of Marine Science is part of William and Mary. All the marine science stuff is through William and Mary. They work together. So, but this was a really good news that came out February 26, 2025. Study highlights success of Virginia's oyster restoration efforts. So, oysters, again, are a critical species in the Chesapeake Bay, but we actually, were able to kind of build back some reefs and actually had some success. There's been such a focus on oyster restoration in VIMS, and we've actually had some success in bringing these vital components of the Chesapeake Bay to better levels than they were before. So there's a lot of work left and a lot of work to do, but there are a lot of good reasons to be hopeful for. And honestly, one thing I keep thinking about is Rachel Carson kicked off the environmental movement in the 50s in the United States when people were being ridiculous. Like, people were, like, spraying citizens with DDT. Like, it's insane. It's really insane, like, how different the world was, like, 75 years ago. It's just insane. And Rachel Carson kind of opened the door to what snowballed into the modern environmental movement, and exploded into a lot of the stuff that we do. The first state park, or the first national parks, or some of the first national parks, were spearheaded by Teddy Roosevelt, who was problematic in his own ways, like very problematic in many ways. But he did, help foster some of that environmental sentiment that has grown into like the national marine sanctuaries, or the national park system that we have. So, Howard, I remember when they introduced coho and Chinook salmon to the Humber River system, it wiped out most of the indigenous species. Let's see. Yeah, and that's a good point too. I do want to end on a positive note, but that is a really good point. I will say that too. With conservation, because this related to something we were talking about earlier as well tonight, where with conservation, we have made progress, we have done good things, but there have been some projects that we're like, oh my gosh, we're losing this species, so let's introduce this other species to save this species, and it actually made the problem worse. There's a really bad example of that in the Midwest, and I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it's like the boll weevil is that example. I want to say it's the boll weevil. Another one that's kind of more relevant is fish farming is very contentious because on the one hand, farming fish sounds like a really good idea, where it's like, oh my gosh, you have a reliable, dependent, protected population of fish. What could go wrong? And there's real concerns of genetic bottlenecking and breeding these kind of like sickly fish that might that might get out of their farm enclosure. And then on top of that, what does it take to sustain an operation? You have to buy and or harvest all this other stuff, and that in turn may have its own detrimental environmental impacts. So I'm kind of rambling, but just want to acknowledge, I do want to acknowledge that that is part of the legacy too. It's not all victories. It's not all failures. It's a contention. So imagine the protective state of the 50s with the population today. A lot more people with money to do harm or good, but today's mass or today's scale of consumer is bigger than ever. Yum. So, agreed. And that's a good point, Bibia. So these are really uncertain times, and I absolutely want to admit that. But I really appreciate that our channel, we have a global community, and as the United States gets kind of weird on a federal level, I just want to reemphasize that sharks and science, transcend nations. They transcend. I mean, they're about humanity as a general collective. They're about all of us, and people from any culture in any country, love sharks, love the ocean, want to help, and our community is that. We love sharks, we love the ocean, it's a global community. So, and I really appreciate that we have this dialogue and we can acknowledge this and acknowledge that these are very uncertain times. I just want to reemphasize that not everything is doom and gloom. Even now, I feel like the focus on the federal level is deserved for sure, and it is very alarming for sure. But I don't want to lose sight of the progress we've had in other areas and the progress on the state level in different areas. When it comes to sharks or conservation, Virginia in particular, in 2022, I want to say, they did release a report, VIMS released a report after the shark survey, where they actually started to see a little bit of an uptick of shark species coming back. Tiger sharks in particular, which was kind of cool to see. Although we really want to see dusky sharks and sandbar sharks come back, because those are the two like really critically endangered species. So, yeah, sure as well, man. But boy, I remember how rapidly the environment changed, 80s or 70s. Yeah, yeah. So actually, I don't know why I'm agreeing because I was born in the 90s, so I literally don't know actually. So respect to, just I don't know that. So, but I will say, I mean, one thing I do know is, when you think about sharks and the perception of sharks, they were mercilessly hunted in, I want to say that was also the 70s, especially with firstly, sharks were hunted just as like a fishery or marine resource in the first half of the 20th century into the 70s. You had the release of the movie Jaws, and that really exploded shark trophy hunting, which is awful. It had a demonstrably negative impact. And then in the 80s, you started to see a shift where people were kind of like, youngsters, yeah. In the 80s, you started to see a shift where people were reevaluating, wait a minute, we're starting to see declines. And I mean, like, people were noticing declines, I want to say in the 50s. Actually, let me rephrase that. Yeah, no, I think the 50s and 60s were the earliest hints of like, okay, wait a minute, we're starting to maybe deplete our marine ecosystem. And then by the 80s, it really took off where it's like, oh my gosh, we're starting to actually really impact sharks, and that started the whole like sharks are misunderstood, we got to help sharks. What are sharks? Like, what's the science? What's the research? Like, the 80s really started to turn that corner. Sharks of the World, the first account was written in 1986, I want to say, by Leonardo Campagno. And it's, transformed into Sharks of the World today. The 90s, we had such a good period of increasing edutainment, increasing reaching out to people, increasing excitement about the natural world. I mean, you had people like Steve Irwin, Jeff Corwin, like Jack Hanna, personalities that were making conservation fun, and people who were really getting people engaged. You had movies like Free Willy, which was 1993, which was a huge step for yes, same here, Howard. Absolutely, I love Campagno as well. Free Willy was a huge step in whale conservation, and whales made a lot of. I feel like whales were the first major marine creature that paved the way for what international cooperation looks like. And I know there's still some detractors today, but for the most part, whales have kind of this sacred status in a weird way. Governments are really, really, really wary of whales. And there's a lot of unique protections for whales. In the United States, you have to slow to, I think it's 10 knots if you're in the area of a right whale. At least on the East Coast of the United States. They take that stuff so seriously, where it's illegal to, be speeding at a certain speed in right whale territory, to the point where, boats will get alerts if right whales are in the area because it's such a critically endangered species. So, kind of rambling a little bit, but I feel the 90s really popularized edutainment. It was when Discovery Channel was at its height. I would say the early 2000s maybe too. But Discovery Channel was at its height. Science was really cool. People were just really curious, globally curious. And then on the research side, I mean, research was just starting to explode a little bit. And then I think in the 10s, the institutions were doing well. It depends on which one. But then this is when pop culture entertainment started to get kind of weird, and I think it's this weird mix of vying for attention with social media and trying to make things how do we get more eyeballs on the screen, and then you get into stupid stuff Megalodon's still alive, mermaids are real, dragons are real, weird stuff. It started to get kind of weird. But as far as actual science, there was still, I feel and there still is in the scientific community, a robust push and a lot of research. And as evident of that, when I was a kid, there were 350 known shark species. Now there are 545, I want to say. There's 200 species have been discovered. So when you look at the trend line, for the most part, for like research, it's really exciting. And when you look at the trend line for environmentalism, plotted against like the 50s, I mean, really exciting. But just I think again, just want to emphasize that there's a lot of hope and a lot of good to still hold on to. But I do want to acknowledge what's going on today, and just want to take a moment to just reaffirm there's good and hope to hold on to when it comes to sharks and conservation. So, and Howard, yes, whales were one of the first poster creatures for conservation, 100%. And I'm really glad that sharks have gotten a little bit of that, and I think they will continue to. Like, just the advantage of being charismatic megafauna is, like, I think they will continue to have something like that. And I will say, as much as I personally don't love Shark Week has gotten a bit better about opening the doors to diverse species, to seeing deep water species, little known species. Like, it's not all white shark stuff, which I appreciate. I mean, a lot of it still is, which is why I don't love it. But recently it got better, so I appreciate that. So yeah. Oh, Bibi, I remember the campaign to conserve fuel, turn off lights and water, tap as much as possible. Oh my goodness. So yeah, like I really appreciate our chat. I appreciate that we transcend cultures, generations. Just like we've seen a lot, and just I don't know. I really am grateful for our community, and I'm grateful that we're able to take a moment to kind of like talk about this. We started the stream in 2023. Didn't think we'd be here in 2025. I mean, the stream would continue in 2025. Didn't think that the Americans would be as weird as they are in 2025. But then again, are we surprised? But but I appreciate again this community, our community. This channel is global, so this is for all of us. We are all here for sharks. We all love sharks, and this is like a, it's our community. It's our cafe. It's our shark cafe. It's the White Shark Cafe. So, which is a great pun on that actual phenomenon of this meeting place of white sharks in the Pacific Ocean, White Shark Cafe. So, yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I do have to wrap up tonight because it is, oh man, it's actually almost 11. I was talking so much I didn't realize it was almost 11:30 on the East Coast. So, I'm going to wrap up for tonight. But guys, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for asking these questions and for just sharing this time together, because it is really important. I really love our community, and I think especially as this year continues, just reaffirming that passion for sharks and that passion for conservation. I really appreciate that. We're all here for the sharks, and we're all together as far as we have a good community, so, and I really appreciate you guys. So, hope you guys have a great week, and tune in next week for the pygmy shark, Euprotomicris bispinatus. So the smallest shark in the world, and I'm really excited to check it out. So, but hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and thank you so much for your contributions and for just all of our discussions. And I'll see you next week for the pygmy shark. But cheers, guys. Have a good night. Bye.